how did you get started with the space?
My education background is actually in biochemistry. I was not able to pay back my college loan, sustain the cost of living. So I found myself working in IT service desk.
There's a lot of people who have this technical background and people who don't have technical background. And then this mental barrier that you need to be a hardcore maverick tech guy to kind of enter security.
It's having that sense of curiosity and that desire to learn endlessly is what allows someone to do well in security.
AI is disrupting, and we being in the Valley, we see this even more.
When you think about how many people fully understands AI is a small percentage, and the amount of people that truly understand the security behind how AI works is even a smaller percentage.
If I am just about to graduate, what would actually help me to test the waters?
Younger folks who are graduating, they look at cyberspace. One of the things I always ask them,
I stumbled into cybersecurity by accident. Like many others, I assumed that getting in would be a huge barrier, but it really wasn't. My traditional background still prepped me or gave me the foundation that I needed. And that's why I want to start the series. I want to explore these journeys of amazing cybersecurity leaders who are shaping the industry today. I really want to understand the human aspect of cybersecurity, what got them into it, what drives them, and what really is that one specific thing that they can tell the young generation who are exploring the verticals out today. This won't be a buzzword heavy or overly technical series. It's all about meeting a CISOs at their favorite coffee spots, learn from their experiences, and get something tangible that you can do today. After the response you guys gave me for the first episode with Akshay and Vaktal, we are here to grab coffee with another CISO, Stanley. Sam, thank you so much for your time, by the way. I'm really excited to do this. So do you want to grab coffee and get started?
no, that sounds great.
So how did you get started with the space?
My education background is actually in biochemistry. So I graduated from UCLA with a bachelor degree in biochemistry. I was working in a genetic research lab doing oral cancer research back in the 90s. One thing led to another, very similar to where we are at in the political state, where the government, US government specifically, was making a lot of decisions on what happens in the industry that has cascade effects. Long story short, I found myself in a position where I was not able to pay back my college loan, sustain the cost of living, so I had to make a career choice decision. For me, it was lucky enough that it happened right around the start of the internet, where it becomes very popular as a used tool and available to a lot of the college students. So I found myself starting that career. That's where my tech career started. So I worked in IT service desk, and that's my first tech job, was actually working in help desk.
Oh, okay.
Over the course of the next couple of years following, I was able to move into system administration, system design, systems architecture. And that's probably one of my decision points around how I enter into security.
There's a lot of people who have this technical background and people who don't have technical background. And then this mental barrier that you need to be a hardcore maverick tech guy to kind of enter security. That's kind of like what people have been thinking about. But being a CISO, you have like an overview of all the things that you do in terms of infrastructure, like overall compliance and incident response and all those things, right? From a broad perspective, how would you categorize things that are technical, non-technical, where as a young folk you should actually enter, and how do you navigate?
I think a lot of people look at security and tie it back to the tech industry. As such, it's very natural for us to focus on, hey, I come from a technical background. I come from an engineering background. I come from an applied science, applied mathematics background. I could lend that skill set and knowledge. And it does lend itself very well, right? There's a lot of spaces, a lot of verticals within the security domain that allows you to apply that set of skills and knowledge. And then there's also things that relies on different types of skills. A red teamer will look at how you interact with a person, will look at the business, look at all the things that could go wrong. A very interesting point of view on that is, from an engineering standpoint, you're taught to solve a problem from point A to point B. So there's usually some variety of a linear path to those solutions, versus a red teamer, an offensive security engineer, or even a product security person will look at the problem and say, what are the roads less traveled? How do I go from point A to point B if that doesn't rely on those engineered, well thought out processes? And that's what the attacker really focuses on, figuring out all the other paths that allows you to get to your target state. Meaning a lot of times it's breaching the environment, breaching the parameters, understanding how you could get to the targets that you're going after. That skill set is not something they teach you well in school. School's always teaching you from point A to point B is a very structured way of thinking about things. In
Right.
security, there's a space for it. And for someone else that doesn't come from that background, you can apply your same knowledge
Right.
to get to that same outcome.
Is it more about critical thinking?
It's having that sense of curiosity
Mm-hmm.
and that desire to learn endlessly is what allows someone to do well in security. If you have hey, I know this best, and you become the best at this one thing,
Yeah,
you can find yourself to be a very, very successful career at that one thing.
got it.
But if you're trying to be a strong security practitioner, that means that you have to be able to break something, but you also have to defend against something. You also have to be able to protect against the people in the organization. Technology can only solve a technology problem. It's not going to solve a people problem.
Got it.
So in a corporate security model, technology is a lot of it. So you still have to protect the people. So you have to figure out the people problem too.
Yes.
So if you're a technologist without being the people in the organization problem or the business leader, you're only solving for a part of what you need to ultimately solve for, right?
AI is like disrupting, and we being in the Valley, we see this even more. And I think it's definitely disrupting cybersecurity vertical as well, right? So in the context of that, is there any particular problem that you are focused on challenging, or a challenge in terms of solving yourself?
Security have a tendency to trail the technology stack. In order to do security well, you have to know the security stack really, really well. So until consumerization mobile devices became a common thing, for security to invest in how do I secure a mobile device? How do I secure a web application, right? Web application launched way before web security came about.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of these cases, it trails behind. I think there's the same situation with AI. I think we have learned from the past. A lot of companies are now jumping right into how do we secure AI? How do you secure the adoption of AI? But when you think about how many people actually fully understands AI,
Yeah,
is a small percentage. And the amount of people that truly understand the security behind how AI works is even a smaller percentage.
yeah.
So I think that's a near to midterm problem. The longer term problem is kind of an interesting one. We as security practitioners usually interact with the interface between two systems. Classic threat model was the boundary between the two systems. In the same way, if you were to apply how we interact with systems, web application, most of the threats are usually between us and the web browser, or the web browser behind the backend services. I think AI is going to transform how we as people interact with systems. Right now, we're learning to adapt AI into how we interact with the system, but we haven't truly learned how to interact with AIs yet. I think there's a stage with the interactions of how we use AI is going to be different.
Yeah.
And we haven't figured out how to solve for that particular problem yet.
If I am like a young or just about to graduate, right? And I'm trying to like learn more about different verticals right now and exploring different things. So what would actually help me to test the waters, and what is that one specific actionable thing that I can do this week to get started?
I would say, hey, there's a lot of information out there. Take a breach report. Find the one thing in that breach report that draws your attention and go deep on it. If it's the human aspects of the initial breach, don't understand that. If you understand the people side of things, because that may lead you down a path of offensive security or it's a red teamer. If it's attack vector, you may be interested in the security research side. And if you're on the back end side, understanding lateral movement, how the privilege escalation works, if that's an interesting space, then you may want to move into threat detection or security engineering, or you look into the other side of the business. If you're interested in how it impacts the business, it might be GRC, it might be risk management.
So is there any particular or interesting breach report that everyone should like look at?
The recent MGM breach from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of details that are shared by the different actors that are involved.
Yeah.
Of all the things that went right and all the things that went wrong in that process.
So that is a great advice, guys. I think going through the MGM breach report probably would be a good starting point, because you can see the entire attack chain, as Stan was talking about, how the attacker kind of like exploited a vulnerability or a weak point in the organization to get in and kind of like travel through and exploit certain things out of it, right? So yeah, I'm really happy to be chatting with you, and really looking forward to see what you do next.
appreciate the opportunity to connect them and share my story a little bit.
Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Stan as much as I did. I think the insight that he shared with respect to the breach report and reading through a breach report to get started is a really interesting idea. So that is your one actionable thing to do this week. I'll be coming up with more and more episodes with these fantastic CISOs. Until then, have a good one.